everyone. This is the Intern Whisper. My name is Isabella Johnston, the host of the Intern Whisper Podcast, which is brought to you by Employers for Change that helps hiring teams reduce employer hiring bias and increase competency skill recruitment and learning. So today's guest is somebody that's been on my show before, Adrienne Garland. She's the CEO of She Leads Media. Adrienne is the producer of She Leads Media Conference for women entrepreneurs and leaders. She's the host of the She Leads podcast, an adjunct professor of entrepreneurship at NYU and Rice, and a book publisher. She was a previous guest on the Intern Whisper, and you can watch or listen to that first interview by visiting Employers for Change YouTube channel and stream from your favorite podcast channel. It's season 5, episode 218 of The Intern Whisperer to hear more about her career path and thoughts about 2030. Today's show is going to be very different, though. So, yay, I'm so glad that you're back. So, we're going to talk about learning, technology, and future of industries, but also about impact. We had a call about this earlier. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit more to hear more about what your conference is. I haven't been, I want to go, but tell all of my listeners about it. Oh, and by the way, we officially hit 15,000 downloads.
Oh my gosh, congratulations. That is
Thank
such an
you.
accomplishment. As coming from another podcaster and just sort of being in that world, I think people think that it's real easy to, get thousands and thousands of downloads, and it's not. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, so what is She Leads Media? Let's just start with that.
Sure. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate being a returning guest on your show. I feel so honored. So thank you so much for this opportunity. So She Leads Media. We are a media company, and hopefully one day we will be a much bigger media company. But we're super focused on women and helping women to get their voices, thoughts, and opinions out into the world. So She Leads Media creates these opportunities for women to share their stories, their thoughts, their opinions through things like our annual conference, our podcast network, and us helping women to start podcasts. We help women to get their thought leadership solidified through books and book publishing. And we also help women with public relations, media training, and marketing. So,
That's a lot. You're a
yeah,
very busy woman.
very busy.
Yeah.
But this idea is like, how do you create your own platform to get your thought leadership and expertise out there? And then how do you leverage the other media channels that are outside of your own platform so that you can amplify your message? And we really believe that entrepreneurship is sort of the answer for women in order to make an impact in the world and create wealth.
So I know how we met, and it was through Kent Gustafson. Please tell me I said his name right, right?
Yep.
Okay, great. He is a fellow publisher, and I'm not sure how you guys met, but when he introduced me to you, it was to participate in a workshop, a pilot program that you were doing about publishing a book. And I love that you focus on women in thought leadership. I believe I am that also, and I am working on a book. We talked about that a little bit. We're both podcasters. Getting your message out there, there's so many ways to do it now, and you are tapping into all of those potential markets. Who do
Yes.
you like the best?
Well, I love podcasting. I mean, it's so much fun, and it is this medium that allows you to sort of talk to anyone around the world because you do not need to be in person with whoever you're speaking with. I also do love doing solo episodes from time to time because it's fun to sort of just riff on certain things. So I love this idea that I can talk to these incredible people. And then the other thing that I love, I mean, I think I love it all, but I do love the conferences and being able to then like let's say there's a guest that's on my show and then she's a speaker at my conference, being able to meet someone face to face and exchange that energy live
Yeah.
is it's unmatched.
I think what's so great about going to conferences, and they do tie together podcasts, conferences, and books. They're all about an experience in some way. And the
Mm.
more that you're able to either listen and watch, that's a good experience. The more that you can actually hold the book and read, and maybe even if it's audiobook and have the book, it becomes something that's being touched and listened and viewed. But when you go to a conference, you can't hug people like you can in the other things. You can in conference, and you get to
Yep.
shake hands, and you get to hug people that you've known for a while, and it's just so much richer, I think, that experience. So I really feel like what you have created as your little media mogul that's turning into a giant is the fact that you're hitting things that should be experiential.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think there's also some type of magic that happens when women specifically get together. And it's something that I am very proud to be able to sort of create that environment. Priya Parker, who wrote the book The Art of Gathering, she talks about how, people have this ability to curate different experiences and have, sort of try to curate different outcomes by bringing people together. And that book came out, I don't know, a couple of years ago, and I read it and I thought, wow, this is what I do, right? Like ever since I was in, high school or even middle school, like bringing together my friends, like having a party, just kind of creating the environment for people to be who they are is something that I feel like I have a knack for, just creating that beautiful space to allow people to exchange thoughts and have fun and all of it. And that's what the conference is about. That's even what my podcast is about, right? It's just a different medium. And same thing with books. It's giving someone the space to share their story and their thoughts and do so in a format that is very intimate.
I pulled her book up and it's a beautiful cover. I don't know if you were responsible for that also, since you're in that publishing realm, but it's beautiful. I cannot wait. I'm going to reach out to her just because of your recommendation, because it looks like it's fun, but it has to be about creating impact. And I know that's one of the major themes that you and I talked about that we really want to focus on in this podcast is creating impact, understanding that this is what has to stay human is the real relationship. We can't be relying on social channels or things that are just supplements. They're secondary to the actual human connection.
Yeah. Yeah, their surface. And I think we talked about this too. There's a place for everything, right?
Mhm.
And I found myself last night scrolling through TikTok or Instagram Reels or something like that. And there are things that are like super funny and they're entertainment. Some of the social channels aren't meant for the things that we are trying to do necessarily. Some of them are, and some of them use those mediums really, really well, like maybe some short clips that educate you on, communication style or something like that. So it's hard to be able to vilify like social media because
Right.
there is some good that can come out of it, but there is definitely like the dark side, right?
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And that comes under for me, stewardship. We need to learn how to self steward ourselves. So we're protecting the time that should be sacred, whether it's with family or with your, higher being and, whatever it is. So finding that balance in things. And I know you mentioned scrolling, and I'm telling you, I find that if I scroll through on YouTube, the reels, I don't know why the reels, they seem so addictive. And I
They're
sit and I
addictive.
go,
Yeah.
because it's the voice. I'm listening to this voice, and then they've really got the psychology down on addiction for these types of social channels where you sit here and you realize I just spent 35 minutes doing something when I only wanted to see this one little video. And
Yeah.
it's it's really something that can suck time away from yourself, your spiritual life, your relationships. Very scary. So stewardship is my word that I use there.
I love that. That's good. And we also just need to be aware. And it's also okay sometimes to allow ourselves to sort of be unproductive or not mindful. Our minds, I believe, need that too, that rest. So at the same time, we I agree we need to be stewards of our time and our energy, but we also shouldn't spend a lot of time beating ourselves up for scrolling, right?
Mhm,
Because
mhm.
it's like, oh, we're not allowed to scroll. And then
Mhm.
that's like stressful too. Well, it's like it's okay.
Yeah.
We're human. We're
Yeah.
gonna get addicted.
Yeah. But we also have to be hyper aware of it, right? So that
Right.
we don't do that. So that's where
Right.
that-
Consistently.
yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
So at my desk, I have one of the things I use to help me manage my time is I have, the
The
sand
timer. Yep.
timers, yeah. And normally we see them as 1 minute timers, but I have one that's a 5 minute one. So I turn it on to 5 minutes. I go, okay, that's it. When that time runs out, then it's more visual, and I'm not using my counter on a phone or anything else. And I may look at the time and then forget to look at the time. It's really right next to me, and I use that for also productivity on just in my life. I go, okay, how many emails can I get out in these 5 minutes that have been sitting in my draft folder? Those
Yeah.
are important.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's also knowing how us as individuals, it's knowing ourselves, right? And it's then putting into place what works for us. And what you said before, like being hyper aware, the more awareness that we can bring to how our mind works or how our energy flows, this is how we can then, figure out what we want and then align the actions that we take with that so that we don't end up feeling guilty or bad or unproductive or whatever the heck it is that we do where we beat ourselves up.
Yeah. Women are really bad about that too, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
We really go and put ourselves through the ringer. It's
Ugh.
taken me a long time to be able, and I wish I had learned it earlier, but I would sit here and just agonize. Oh, I wish I hadn't done this, and or I wish I had said this. And I've now learned that no, that's wasted emotion. Just like process it, go learn from it, and then let it go.
Yep. Good stuff.
No, gosh, thanks. I appreciate it. It takes so much. I don't know if you're a person that learns quickly. I seem to have been one that learned, it took, I don't know, maybe 10 times of learning a lesson to make it go, okay, let's not keep doing that mistake.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, back over here to Priya Parker, her book. Is there something that's super memorable from there? I'm actually writing down all of these little nuggets that you're saying just because I want to use them in the show description. But
Yeah.
is there something that you remember from her book that you think is worthy of repeating? I'm sure there's plenty.
You know what? There is plenty. And I think that the title, it really says it all, right? It's the art of bringing people together, the art of gathering live. It could be, virtually as well, but it's sort of like being very intentional. And she talks about this throughout the book, being intentional about why you're bringing people together and what you are looking to sort of facilitate within that. And it doesn't have to be from a productive standpoint. This isn't like a business thing. This can be,
Hmm.
a social gathering. But it's like, what is the feeling that you want to elicit from people? How do you want to honor the people that are gathering, and how do you sort of set the stage for that? There is a gosh, I don't know whether it's in this book or if I remember this from something else, but I do think it is from this book. And of course I don't remember the details, but there's something about like Italian women like setting the stage for like what like the gathering of the family. And that one particular example stood out to me
Hmm.
because it's mindful. It's not just like, hey, it's dinner time. No, there's you set the table, you set intentions. It's like really great lesson for life too, right?
So what I'm hearing from this is from the book, The Art of Gathering. It's you said intention, and I love that word too. That's really being honed in on it. Pulling people together, that is to be more experiential. So it creates what we were originally talking about earlier is an impact. We want to
Yep.
see that everything that we do is intentional is a really good word that aligns with impact. Gathering people, that's about impact.
Yep.
We just don't want to just show up. We can and hang out. And let's go to our college days. Back in the day, there would be times when, oh, let's get together and we'll just relax. There would be alcohol, there would be music, there would be lots of friendship. And so that's the intent is just to relax.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's what's coming out of it. But to set the stage, as you mentioned, it's really about making sure it needs to be hitting all of those senses that we have to be experiential. There needs to be something that we're hearing, and maybe that's music in the background, or maybe it's just a planned speech, if you will. So there's things that are being spoken, there's things that we're listening to, there's things that we, by having food, that's very experiential, right? And you can just be in that
It's
moment.
comforting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's comforting. It's setting the environment so that people can be comfortable in who they are and what, why they're there. Because we're all, even if it's a very good friend, you are invited over for dinner or cocktails or to watch a movie, there's always a little anticipation, like, right? There's always like a tiny bit of nervousness. Do I bring something with me? Is it okay if I just show up as
Mm-hmm.
me? And the really good host, if you will, um just just by way of who they are, says welcome, like you are welcome here as you are. And that is very comforting, I think, to other people. Like, you don't need to be anything more than you are. You don't need to look better than you think that you need to. You don't need to be the perfect guest and bring the perfect, you know, item. Like, you can just be you, and you're welcome, and that's good enough. In fact, it's great.
Yeah, I love that. So let's talk about what is the experience to go to a She Leads conference. Did you already have your one for this year?
No, it's actually coming up.
Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah,
gosh,
yeah.
let's talk
Yes,
about it. What
yes,
can
yes.
anybody expect?
Oh my gosh, it's very exciting. So this year is actually the 10th anniversary of our conference. So this is conference number 10. We started in 2013. And if you do the math, that's 11 years. But we took 1 year off of the conference. And it's
COVID.
funny. Yeah, and we actually didn't take off the year of COVID. We did move to virtual, and we it had always been in person. And even though the virtual conference was awesome, I really I took a year off because I said I don't want to do this virtually again. It's not the same. And I really had a dilemma whether I was going to be moving forward with producing the conference at all. And in 2022 was when we sort of came back live and in person and in a different way. I mean, the world is different. So the conference came back in a different way. Um, and so this is, I guess, our, third conference post COVID. And now it's bigger, it's better. It's 10th anniversary. It's 2 days. It takes place on October 18th and 19th in New York City at this incredible venue called Civic Hall. Um, and yeah, we're just like 2 days packed full of speakers that are totally dedicated to women entrepreneurs and giving us practical, super practical, actionable advice and inspiration. And very much what we're talking about, the art of gathering, the container of the She Leads Live conference is very much a container that is filled with love, and I'm going to say that like I'm being bold about love, filled with love, and uh and also tips, tools, networking, everything that you need to take your business to the next level.
That's amazing. So when people get there, I assume there is it in a hotel? I don't know where what did you tell me? I wrote it
Civic Hall. Yeah.
they
No,
call
it's a beautiful space actually. It is an event venue plus I don't want to necessarily say co-working, but it does house other businesses.
Mhm.
So it's a multi-functional space where there are people that are there, all the time, every day, and different conferences and events happen there as well. It's tech forward. It's actually a brand new building. One of the investors in it is Craig Newmark from Craigslist. A lot of the businesses that are housed there are businesses that they cater to underserved audiences and teach them new tools and technologies so that they can be more represented in fields like, AI, which I know we're going to talk about a little bit, AI, coding, digital, things like that.
Hmm. That sounds like something everybody should go to. Is there, how can they find this? Where did they go to either sign up or learn more?
Yeah, thank you. So anybody can go to the sheleadsmedia.com website. And then if you click on She Leads Live 2024, it'll take you into just, the speaker page and agenda and things like that. And if you want to just go straight and purchase tickets, you can go to Eventbrite and just search up She Leads Live 2024 New York City. But you can get there through our website.
Okay, well, that sounds good. Is there some type of a deadline that they need to make sure that they're registering on?
Yeah, so our early bird ticket pricing, which is our very best pricing, that ends tomorrow,
Okay.
August 31st.
Well, we'll
So
miss that. This doesn't air tomorrow, but okay.
yeah. But the tickets are being sold up until, the day before the conference. If there is anybody that is listening on this podcast and wants that early bird pricing, if
Okay.
you DM me on Instagram, which is at She Leads Media, and just let me know that you heard me and Isabella on the Intern Whisperer podcast, I will honor the early bird pricing.
Whoa, what a deal. That is a good deal. Well, I'm going to really push this hard when I publish this. Now, your episode, just so you know when it's supposed to happen, and I don't know, October 18th is when you said. So this is slated to drop. I believe it's on I don't have my thing in front of me. I think it's the third week of September. So
Great.
I'll make sure that I'm putting it out there and I'm sharing it on all my social channels so that people will participate and sign up. Because honestly, I'm sitting here going, I have something that weekend. Otherwise, I would go. I
Oh
would
no.
totally go. I am in charge of, and I'm actually facilitating Startup Weekend in
Oh, right.
Orlando. So I can't go. I'm
Next year, next year.
next year. Yes, we can plan for that. But this sounds phenomenal, and I would just love to attend. Plus, it'd be nice to see you.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so I know you're working on a book. What is the book that you're working on?
Wow. I guess this is maybe the first time that I'm talking about this in any public way.
Okay, but
Um,
it's like, you have time.
yeah, so the book the title we're sort of still working out, but it's really the She Leads Manifesto, right? And it's a call to action to women entrepreneurs to get serious and to commit to getting our businesses past that $1 million mark because of the impact that that makes. When women have access to financing and wealth, we do good things with it in the world. Yes, we will buy ourselves nice things, but once we do that, we are more likely to pour that money back into our communities and to doing better things for humanity and the environment overall. There are numerous statistics that show this. We make more impact with the money that we have.
I know that's true. I know that's true. You'll find that more women invest in things that are the arts, whether it's music, dance, whatever. We see that women are as just females, we're very nurturing. I don't want to stereotype us all into one area, but you know, I, God gave us the ability to have babies because we're obviously more nurturing than men. So
Yes.
let's go with there.
And we love it. We love the men. There's,
Yeah,
and that's the other thing I want to be like super clear about. Everything that we do at She Leads, it is definitely in support of women, but that doesn't mean that it is
there
not
are.
in support of men because we love men.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I'm just saying that we're the ones that get to have the
Well,
babies
we're awesome.
and very nurturing. And yes, we
Yes.
always need men to be our advocates and also help, sometimes open the doors for us where we can't
Yep.
do it. So, they are certainly key people in both business and in personal lives, honestly.
Agreed.
Yep. Okay. So we know that we can go to this conference. We can also, I'm going to assume maybe that book might be out by the conference. Will it?
A part of the book will be out by the conference.
Ooh.
Yeah, we're trying to get the book out for the conference, but I'm not 100% sure that that's going to happen.
Well, what I hope you have is some type of a workbook that is, easily digested during the conference. And then that will help promote those ticket sales or the book sales, both. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we're going to take a moment to acknowledge our sponsor, Cat 5 Studios, and we're going to be right back.
Visit Cat 5 Studios for more information to learn how Cat 5 Studios can help your business. Thank you, Cat 5 Studios.
Now, in the second half of our show, we always focus on the future of. We didn't even finish the stuff that we had slated on the first part. So we're going to be going through a whole lot of things here. I found this article from The Guardian about how smartphones, which, as I said, smartphones, they're not a phone. It's a computer. It's the size of your palm, but
That's
we
right.
call it a phone because that's one of the many things it can do. How it can actually disconnecting from technology. They haven't even started to even break through a lot of the research about the effect and the impact smartphones have on us. Because I know in social feeds, there's some things when I go to a social feed, it can make me feel bad about myself, but I digress. I want to read one little quote I pulled from the book. Connection, the ability to connect transcends being a mere prelude to content delivery. The process, implementation, the transactions complete, all of these are things that can happen in connection. But, we're looking at why people may feel alienated. And if they're not feeling connected to the person that's over here saying, oh, look at how much money I made this year, $2 million. And oh, look, I'm traveling here and here and here. I may not be able to connect to it because I don't live it. I am actually dreaming of it, maybe some of it, but I'm not living it. It forms this bedrock upon which everything else is constructed. It makes it so that sometimes real connections are established, but real connections are always in person, is what this article is about. The
Mm,
ability to go back to what we were talking about in the first half of the show of the human connection, the human touch, the ability to have food together, the smelling just of the food, somebody's wonderful Chanel perfume, whatever it is, right? The more experiential we can have, experiences that we have, the more memorable that meeting is.
mm.
So, what are your thoughts about social media and the impact that it can have on us, both positive and negative?
Yeah, and I think we said this before, right? It's I guess anything, right? It's good, it has its good qualities, and it can also be very negative.
Mm-hmm.
Like you mentioned, perhaps you're looking at something and it's triggering for whatever reason, and it starts to make you feel bad about yourself,
Yeah.
right? That I believe that aspect of it is insidious for kids that are trying to figure out who
Oh,
they
God.
are and their
Our little body.
identity. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's, and there's no way. I mean, I guess there is a way. You don't allow your children to have any access to these things, but when kids do have access to these things, there's sort of no way for you to prevent that from happening. And I don't think that the technology was designed to harm children or people, but maybe I think that some of the people that have the larger businesses that are profiting off of it, it's in their best interest to have us addicted to these things because you can monetize addiction, right? Like,
Yeah, drugs, porn,
yeah.
all of these things that are out there.
Yeah, but it's not good, but
Mm-mm.
it is what it is. So it goes back to what you said, like we need to be stewards of our attention and our intentionality, just like with drugs, right? They're available for everybody to there and get addicted to, but you say to yourself, that's not for me, and this technology, this computer in the palm of our hands is fairly new in our human evolution. So we have to learn how to modulate and train ourselves to not get addicted to it. We don't know what we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
We're just like lambs being led to slaughter, and we're
Mm-hmm.
doing it, we are like, take me to the guillotine,
Mm-hmm.
because we are so obsessed with everything that's going on, and it's fun in a lot of ways, and just like with drugs, right? They're amazing when you're doing them, and I don't do drugs. I'm just
Yeah.
saying they're amazing when you're doing them until you come down off of the high, and until your life is ruined. Then they're not so good anymore,
Yeah, because
right?
they can cost a lot of money. I Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never done pot. I must be one of the few people in all of America that's never done it. But I also don't drink. And I also, there were things that I never did just because didn't want to. But in my family, my grandfather was an alcoholic. So that made an impression on me and made me go, no,
Right.
I don't want to drink. My youngest brother died of a drug overdose. So it made me go, no, you know,
Yeah.
it even cemented it more in me that no, those things are bad just
Yeah.
because I lost a person that was
Yeah.
important to me.
Oh, it's awful. That's
Yeah.
so awful. I'm so
So
sorry. Yeah.
thank you. But smartphones and just diving into the whole of social content, the people that put it out have a responsibility to think about the impact. And it might just be one that's self serving for them. They're making money off of all of these people that sign up to be Amazon. I saw something that came through my feed last night. Be an Amazon influencer, and they'll send you all kinds of free stuff. and you're able to sell it. And that could be for the kitchen. It could be for, clothes. It can be a whole lot of things. But if you're always on this, that becomes your job, is to influence.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And I thought about it for a minute too. And I went, do I want to do this? And, how do I feel about all of this? And I went, I don't know. That becomes something that's full time. And then if you don't have a more diversified way of making money, then okay, then I'm out and I'm starting all over. It's like, it's a
Yeah.
business. It definitely is a business to be an
Yeah.
influencer.
Yeah.
Anyway, getting back over here on track, because we hit a number of things here. The impact that we all have is huge in our lives, and we never really think about that impact. So one of the other things that came out of this article, it said that they were studying. Let me get back to my notes here. There was a study that was published in the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology, and it revealed that even fleeting connections with strangers can boost our mood and our overall well-being.
Mm.
In the professional sphere, a Gallup study found that having a close friend at work can increase employee engagement up to 7 times. That was
Mm.
amazing to me that was possible. And I know that's true because when I go to the grocery store and somebody is looking at a product I might be holding, is that any good? And I go, oh yeah, I think it's amazing. And this is why. I became a micro influencer. I just either made somebody be influenced enough to go, oh, I want to buy this just because I'm a complete stranger.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yet in your workplace over here, you're having a conference. You're going to have thousands of people attending this conference of women that are engaging in there. They're going to, see people they've known in the past. 10 years is a lot of time to have an amazing conference. And then they'll make new friends. All of those types of experiences, have a big impact. And then you have the speakers. So, there's levels of engagement that's happening at your conference. And that I've gone to conferences, and every time I come back from, I go, oh, I have all of these things I want to do. It can be so overwhelming, but
Yeah.
I'm sure you account for all of these things.
Yeah. And it's actually one of the reasons that we are going to be announcing something at the conference in order to keep people engaged with each other throughout the year. Because it's like it's like such a surge of excitement and energy and wanting to do all of these things and having this heart connection with these different people that you want to do business with and everything. And then everybody gets back into their everyday life. It just happens, whether we want it to or not. And some of those connections, get farther away from us. So I want to make sure that those connections remain strong and that we continue to sort of be in this women's entrepreneurial ecosystem together, because that's where the power is. So we're going to be announcing something in order to be able to keep everybody together like that. But I'll reserve that for
You should.
October. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. That's really wonderful. Something else I found that was very interesting in the game space was, again, more research here. There were some researchers from Edge Hill University and University of New York. Cowart, the professor, had studied more than 700 players of massively multiplayer online games, also known as MMOs. The sample ranged from gamers who played as little as 1 hour per week to those who played 30 hours or more. The team found that the MMO engagement correlated to a stronger sense of social identity, or how people self-identified based on their affiliation to groups, which corresponded with higher self-esteem, more social competence, and lower levels of loneliness.
Yeah.
Now, I run in the game space also. I have, a game on Steam, shameless plug right now, Intern Pursuit game. Go play it, third person tower defense.
Amazing.
And thank you. And I know that because I work out of a co-working space for game developers, and it's very true. Their relationship in the space, in the co-working space, is amazing. But even still, they use Discord a lot. That's the server of choice for engagement. They are very, very active in there. So I sometimes I wonder, is it because people that play things online are maybe more, I'll say, introverted in their social skills. So where they feel more comfortable is just in the online community. It doesn't require the same amount of energy as being in person. I don't know. What are your thoughts? You have boys that play games, you said?
Yeah, it's super interesting. Yeah, I definitely think that there's probably an aspect of introversion that is part of this. But the other thing that I think is super interesting, and I'm just trying to think back because I took a class when I went for my MBA, which was a very long time ago. And it was game theory. And one of the things that is super interesting is like who wins, right? Like where's the winner? And I think in these massive multiplayer games that everybody, yes, you might be playing individually, but there's a greater mission to accomplish, right? In these games, right? Especially when you play on teams and things like that. So I can see that you have greater social connection because you're all trying to get past a level or, to do this next thing. And everybody's sort of in it together. And so there's a greater sense of like camaraderie. And I know that like my younger son has throughout college, he started in high school playing whatever the heck game. It's probably not the best game. I'm sure it's like a shoot 'em up game, which whatever. Um, Number one, I know that that relieves stress for him, which is
Hmm.
weird, but it does. And he has been able to keep in touch with a lot of his like middle school and high school friends, even though they're going to college in different places and everything. When they get online together to play the game and they are like on a team together to do whatever they're doing, there is a sense of bonding there, right? So it's like yes, like when we went to college, we left for the most part, we left our high school friends behind, right? And everybody went on and maybe you see people when you come back home for Thanksgiving or something like that.
Hmm.
But in today's world, you can keep in touch by talking to people or texting people, but sometimes you're not on the same page, you're not doing the same thing. But when you come together and you're both playing the same game, for the same reason, it creates like deeper bonds. And so that's what I think of when I think of like why people feel more socially connected because they're on a similar mission together.
Hmm.
They're able to again like almost like just be themselves and doing something that because games have a sense of accomplishment.
Hmm.
So there's dopamine in that. I set out to do something. I partnered together with somebody on a team or a whole bunch of people. We all are on this mission to accomplish this thing. We did it together.
Yeah. Similar to things that are military, I'll use something else because now this one's more in-person relationship focused, but I agree. I absolutely agree with you. I was in a sorority when I was in college, and I lived in the house. And we always did stuff together. We ate together. We lived together. Everything that was social was together. And I feel like what you're describing is that similar experience. Years later, I am no longer in the sorority, but every time I meet anybody, no matter if I don't know them, but I just see that AO pie across on their shirt. I go, oh, you and I are the same. So, yes, even
Yeah.
that instance of what you're describing, it does make me feel a closeness because there's a shared experience from a previous time.
Exactly.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about that before until you bring up this sense of of what I wrote down what you said, camaraderie and a higher level of connection. And I go, oh, so maybe that's where games have identified that even more closely from like the military and from this long history of games and how that actually does help to bring people together.
Absolutely.
Hmm. Well, that would make sense because with complete strangers on social, even though I might be in a shared community, I don't always feel the same because we're not eating together. It's still not the same. There's always something that's missing. So to build a community, we'll be able to see that's where we create impact.
Yeah, when you do things together. I
Mhm.
another just really quick person that I admire greatly, Gina Bianchini.
Oh, I have her book,
She's
Purpose.
amazing.
Yes. And I am a mighty network also like you.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So she talks about the very best communities. They are in community because they want to make some type of transformation together.
Hmm.
So, sort of like the best thing you can do for that is to, make this the best year ever, or take actions together so that everybody is doing like a challenge. Like that type of stuff, things where you might be five steps ahead of me, but we're all marching toward this one thing that binds us together. That is what community is about. And that's the type of community that people want to be in. Social media oftentimes is very individualistic. And
Hmm.
so you're watching someone else do something and then you're not a part of it. You're just like a watcher. And even though it could be inspiring, you're not participating with that person in something.
Hmm.
So that I think the challenge aspect of it and the doing things together, that's the key component of what makes a community special.
I agree with you. I am on that train with you now. Yes, I am totally agreeing with you. So we're going to be coming here pretty close to the end of the show here. I just want to make sure I'm going to hope we're still good. Yes, perfect. So something else that one more thing that I'll pull in here that I found is that I put all of these quotes in here that you said. This is really good stuff. Um, we talked about, so how do people step away from their phones if our whole lives are tied to them? We pay through them, we learn through them. This is how we can go to school. We don't need TVs anymore. We don't need to have a monitor. We can do everything. It's on demand and it's always in our lives. Whether it's go to school, worship in church, go to social gatherings. COVID changed it so that we couldn't be together. And that was like really hard for everybody. There was no choice then. There wasn't the
Right.
choice to just be on a phone and just not have to deal with people. Or there was not the choice of no, I need to be with people. I know I do. Because that's where I get my energy from. And then if I have to do it through my phone, it leads for me to feelings of depression and things like that. So where do you think that you can see that type of impact that social content that everything in this phone can do in our lives? How do we step away from the phone if we're going to be able to keep our lives on track?
Yeah, it's so funny. I just recently saw this. It's a Pew Research study, and it's from the beginning of this year. According to a new Pew Research study, 74% of teens say they feel happier without their smartphone, while another 72% say they feel more peaceful. And I think that it's a matter of being mindful, intentional, and setting boundaries, right? The other thing that I had read the other day was that when you pick up your phone right away in the morning, you're coming out of that state of sleeping. So your brain is in a lower frequency, and it takes between a half an hour and an hour for your brain to move through the different wavelengths so that you can operate at this like higher functioning, brain activity. But you need that time in order for your body to wake up, your brain to wake up. When you pick up your phone immediately, first thing when you wake up, you shoot your brain from that sleepy state into that state of operating at a higher wavelength. And so you skip the steps. And what that does to your body is it immediately causes stress. And it might not be stress that you necessarily feel, but your brain, it's like going from, 0 to 60 without anything in between. And we are not sports cars. We are human beings that need to move through those stages in order for us to maintain our homeostasis and all of the good things, right? It's like you wake up and you see a grizzly bear on top of you and you go immediately into fight or flight. Yes, it's going to save your life, but if you do this repeatedly every day, you are harming yourself. So the best thing that this article suggested that you do is that you do not look at your phone at all, any type of screen at all for at least 30 minutes to 1 hour when you wake up in the morning, and you will be less stressed and you'll give your brain the time that it needs to, I guess for lack of a better word, like warm up. And you will just be better. You will feel better.
I like that a lot. I'm going to go find that author. I think it sounds really interesting. I tried that yesterday. I know we had talked about that, and I did notice that I felt different. I
Yeah.
didn't feel like I was having to rush out the door. I mean, I was aware of what time I was supposed to be up and what was going on because I checked the day before. I had planned for it. And so I think that's one of the key things that, we can do is that we can, if we're going to step away from our phones, we need to plan for that so that we're going to be feeling like, oh, okay, I'm in the right place. I know what's expected of me. And you're not going into that fight or flight thing that you had mentioned before. I think that's truly significant. The other thing that I noticed about it is not only did I feel more relaxed going in, I did not do that today, but that's where I could, definitely say, oh,
It's
that
an
was
experiment,
great.
right?
Yeah, it's an experiment. And I went, okay, so now I can see what the advantage was. And aside from that, it made me more aware as to the power of that phone on my life. And that just one day. And by comparing it to, well, this is intentional. I'm not going to look at it. And then the next day going, okay, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just looking at my phone. And it
Yeah.
hit me right away. So hopefully our listeners will hear what it is that you were just sharing and they'll realize, wow, that was significant. And that one little action can create a giant impact in my life moving forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is all really good stuff today, Adrienne. I love everything that we're talking about here. So, and I'm making sure I'm being aware of mutual schedules here. One more thing I'm going to mention. I usually mention this. It was October 8th of last year. That was my birthday too. That was
Yes.
pretty exciting.
Libra.
Yes. So there was this gentleman, his name is Jeffrey Hinton. He is the godfather of AI. And he was interviewed on 60 Minutes. And, I just happened to be watching that show. And he said, he invented it back in the 60s. And his fear is that one of the ways in which these systems, AI, might escape control is by writing their own computer code to modify themselves. And that's something that we need to seriously worry about, his quote. And I find that interesting because, again, people can use tools like AI. And this was something else we talked about, earlier when we had our call last week, is like we begin to become lazy. We rely on tools. Yes, they can make us efficient, and yes, they can. And to me, AI, when you look at Chat GPT and the other things that are out there, similar competitors, what they do is they take all knowledge in the world of Google every browser, and they consolidate it into one platform where it can give you that giant search. I don't have to search for, as many hours as maybe I did. But it can consolidate it all into whatever exactly I'm looking for based on that prompt. And I find that interesting too, because I went, well, that's nothing to be afraid of. That's exactly it. But it does learn from our searches even more and more and more to give a better result. So, what are your thoughts about Jeffrey Hinton, what his quote was? Anything you want to just, comment on?
Yeah, we talk about this in my class a lot because I teach entrepreneurship. And so there is the aspect of like, how do you leverage some of these new technologies and, create businesses out of them? But then also, how can some of these technologies help you to grow your business and help get you unstuck and things like that. I like anything else, and what we've been talking about, there's the dark side and then there's the opportunity. And I can understand his quote where at a certain point, this AI can get so smart that it starts doing things that are sort of like out of control and against humanity. And that type of evolution is bad, right?
Mhm.
Because if it can start doing things that is going to eradicate humanity from the face of the earth,
Mhm.
then yes, that's a bad thing. Protections have got to be put into place. Things that protect people's privacy and make sure that the inputs are equal and not doing anything to harm any group. There are so many protections that need to be put into place. It can go out of control. So yeah, I think that's scary to think about that. And I also think that there is a lot of good and positive that can come out of it as well, but we have to make sure that those inputs that they are not biased in any way whatsoever. And we need to be mindful of what these tools are and how they are helping us as humanity or harming us.
Mhm. I think the one of the things, not everybody always puts this on there because some people sell their lists, right? And the ability to opt out of having your name, your information shared with people is key. I think in terms and conditions, when people create whatever they're creating, there needs to be the ability to just right off of the bat say, no, don't, I agree to your terms, but don't share my information.
Yeah.
That's going to change a lot of ways that people make money. Because if you cannot access my information, then I can no longer be targeted to sell whatever my favorite thing is from Sprouts, which is this remedy turmeric beverage that I just love.
Yeah.
Like now I no longer get that. And then I'm not agreeing to have my privacy taken away from me by listening through my phone as to what my conversations are because people don't read terms and conditions. And that is one way that I think that businesses are are not being they don't have the consumer in mind. They have their profit margin in mind. And
Yeah.
that's wrong. So I feel like ethics within a company is obviously important and making sure that the impact that they are creating is one that they're going to be proud of, that's not going to harm their children and their grandchildren as they move forward. And, we'll be dead and gone, but you know what? This impacts the future of
Yeah.
people. So I don't think that they're thinking through all of those. They're just thinking about what does it make right now?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's sometimes just being human too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Well, this has been delightful. Let's do this one. I always like doing this question. What is the best mentoring advice that you would like to share? Because the one you shared previously can be different from this one. So I have mentoring advice. I have probably 100 of them that I share. So I don't think that we're limited to just one.
Um, Yeah, I don't remember what I said last time.
That's
The
okay.
first,
You don't have to.
yeah.
That was a
Um,
time.
I think mine's a little two-part. One is run your own race, and by that I mean don't be so influenced by what other people are doing or where they are that you start beating yourself up. So run your own race and do everything that you can to build your network and relationships because that is truly how things get done. And I've seen that over and over. So the younger that you can be in building out that network and really cherishing that network of relationships, I just think the better off that you are going to be.
Mm.
And I'm gonna give a third one
Okay.
because those two are so important.
I agree.
This one is probably the most important. And I've been saying this to a lot of young people. The compounding effect of interest is real. So if you start investing on a regular basis, it doesn't have to be a lot of money, but if you start investing as early as you can, you have time on your side so that you can build your wealth so that by the time that you're 30, 40, 50, that you are not struggling financially. And all it takes is maybe $20 a week.
Yeah. I did that. I use Acorns and I started with, I have no savings, is what I realized. And I went, you know what? I'm going to start. And I just put $10 a month. And I cannot even believe, like, whoa, look at how much money I have and $10 a month. So $20 a week.
Yep.
Yes.
And
That
imagine
is
when if you
unbelievable.
started when you were 20.
Oh God, yeah. I don't even want to think about that. But yes, I know that I could take that same philosophy and go, well, I can start today. So
That's
what am I
right.
going to do now? So I don't want to go back to when I was 20 because that's like a bigger number, but I can do it today. So now you've motivated me, just so you know, your impact was I'm going to go change it so that it's not $10 a month. It's going to be more and it's going to be on a weekly basis.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, and it could still be what I would do on a weekly basis, but by the month, it doesn't matter. The goal is that you impacted me and I'm going to go change what I do. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity and thank you for the impact that you're making by just having this podcast in general. Even if, one person takes away something that positively changes their life, then that is incredible. And that's the impact that you're having. So thank you for having your podcast.
Oh, thank you. What social channels other than LinkedIn, because I share LinkedIn and I've got your website up here. What other social channel would you like us to include?
Instagram would be great. And it's just, at She Leads Media is our handle.
Okay. At She Leads Media. Got it. Okay. And then, yeah, I look forward to having more conversations later with you. So
Me too.
let's keep this whole dialogue going on what we're doing here in the world.
Thank you so much. This is great.
Thank you to our sponsor, Cat5 Studios, and thank you to our video production and editing team, Erica Ullman, Gavin Staley, and Rachel McMathis. Music is by Sophie Lloyd. The Intern Whisperer is brought to you by Employers for Change, helping hiring teams to recruit and upskill their intern talent and employees. Learn more at www.e4c.tech and become a member to reduce employer bias and improve company culture through head and heart smart recruiting and learning. Subscribe to the Intern Whisperer today and show your support by sharing our show, tagging a friend to listen, and leaving us comments. You can find the Intern Whisperer podcast on Employers for Change YouTube channel or streaming from your favorite podcast channel. Thank you.